I'm Michael Bream, the founder of EVWEST and the CEO. We're having a little shop visit here today with Nimit.
From
we're
Thailand,
gonna cruise around and check out the shop.
Yeah,
So
the best time. I'm so glad to be here.
yeah, thanks. A little slow day. It's early Monday morning. Just opened up. Up here on the lift, we have our Pikes Peak race car. We raced this car back in 2012 on the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. Back then it was a twin DC brushed motor system. We had a peak power of about 3,000 amps, a couple hundred kilowatts, a really fantastic car, but the technology was really dated. We had a heavier battery in it, and we had brushed motors. And back when we built the car in 2010, 2011, that was kind of the best stuff that was available to us, on a independent privateer team budget, basically. As time went on, the technology improved. We started building a lot of brushless AC systems, but we never really got that high power, 300, 400, 500 kilowatt. Now with the Tesla system, so this is a Tesla Model S rear end.
This is a Tesla motor?
Yeah. So we put the Tesla motor in, and you can see here we adapted the factory axles and the factory subframe. So it's a really easy installation. This can easily be swapped out if need be.
Is that an E30?
E36, and you can tell if you look up here, I mean, this thing just shreds tires. I mean, just absolutely, that's just from that's like literally two burnouts. That's how crazy this thing is.
So you build our enforcing?
3 burnouts?
2 burnouts.
Well, they were a little longer than your average burnout.
So you build all the structure
Yeah, so we cut out the rear of the car. Now, there was initially a battery pack back here before, but with the AC motor being a little bit more efficient, we could actually reduce our battery size. We went from about 40 kilowatt hours down to about 32 kilowatt hours.
So this is how many?
So it's rated at 400 kilowatt is what the
kilowatt.
Yeah. I think this particular one, we have a performance motor, the P motor in here, and I think our peak is like 420 kilowatts, something like that. Yeah.
So basically, just educate my friend over there. I heard for Tesla models, you have to trick them out to get working.
Yeah. We definitely have a trick to get the motor working. And
it's not like plug and play stuff.
No, none of the
They're
stuff.
kind of too smart to.
Well, they have a lot of their own proprietary systems.
Yeah.
See, and it's proprietary. So if they make a software upgrade to improve their product or make it safer, they're not obligated to tell all of the independent shops,
You have
right?
to go around. And
Yeah. So we've just kind of figured out a way. We work with a couple companies that create products like that. We're kind of like the resellers and integrators. There's a lot of car guys out there. They are real talented. They know how to fabricate. They know how to build cars, suspension, etc. But their whole life they've been building internal combustion drivetrains.
Right.
So we're the perfect company for people like that because they understand the car.
Yeah.
They understand what it takes to build a really good car, but they don't understand the intricate and the technical details of the electric driveline. Right. And so that's what we're here for. We really want to work with more so I think with car shops, independent car shops and hot rod shops, resto body shops.
Does this come with the kit you sell on your website?
Yes, it does. Yeah, we sell this.
I mean, I look into your website. The price of this kind of stuff is not that expensive like that. The problem we have in Thailand, the battery, that's a major problem we try to get.
Yeah. But again, there's solutions for that, right? Because at one time, before the electric vehicle revolution, so to speak, there was a reason for that regulation. And the people that wrote the regulation at the time couldn't really see what's happening now. And what's happening now is typically in the past, used battery was a very negative word, right? Like as if it was used, it was generally terrible or running out of charge or capacity. Nowadays, used batteries are a fantastic deal, especially because they're making so many of them in the factory electric vehicles. When that vehicle crashes, now you have a battery pack that can cost $25,000 to $50,000, and we can get those at a fraction of that cost.
Right.
So it really helps.
Okay, can you a little bit explain on what is the main component that in
Sure.
here?
So starting back here, this is the inverter. A lot of people's, well, not a lot, but often this is confused for a twin motor setup. It's not. This is the motor inverter here, right?
Inverter is mean for...
Right, so
it's like a regen or something, no?
Well, so all AC induction motors have a forward torque and a reverse torque, and so they all take advantage of the reverse torque to slow the vehicle down and charge the battery, which is known as regenerative braking. People really like regenerative braking because it puts energy back in the battery, which is nice, and it also prolongs the life of the brakes.
So inverter is, in my understanding, those guys maybe not really interested in have the knowledge about that. I mean, inverter is considered like convert from DC to AC, AC to DC.
Well, it's just the inverter, you know, this is an induction motor. So the inverter's for AC induction. I think this one operates at 8 to 10 kilohertz.
Okay.
But it's a simple, this one's not permanent magnet assist or anything. This is a Model S motor. It's very straightforward. It's AC induction.
Not like we thought like VDLC.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of different...
BLDC.
BLDC is a little less efficient at higher continuous RPMs, right? And now we're seeing reluctance and synchronous reluctance and internal permanent magnet assisted synchronous reluctance motors now.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of these newer and newer technologies coming out that increase the efficiency and the power output of the motors.
So the question is like, if your suggestion for the new, if you want to start and not go to the DC motor or the old started, maybe the price wise, maybe that one, maybe the start for...
Well, sure, like everything. I mean, everything's a trade-off. Even a gas car, when you go into the store, it's like, we all want this one, but maybe we can afford this one. You know? So it's the same with electric.
Just starting somewhere.
Yeah. This is just fun to get in and kind of reverse engineer and get your hands dirty and really understand the system. So finishing up with this, so this is the inverter side, and it actually sends the phase leads through the case here over into the motor side. In between the two, we have twin reduction gears. So there's a 3.12 reduction twice. So it's actually a 978 reduction all the way up to the differential up here. And we have open differential and we have a limited slip differential option that we sell as well.
So this is more the cooler?
That is a coolant line, over there. And over here we cycle coolant through it. So it is a liquid cooled inverter and liquid cooled motor as well.
Okay. So that, and this is a main...
So these are our old battery boxes from our previous system, and we used to have a drive line in here, and we've removed the drive shaft and the transmission and a lot of that stuff. So this is just this is actually our battery pack, and this is our battery monitoring system. We just ran some thermistor leads because we're going to monitor the internal temperatures at 48 different locations, 12 batteries, 4 each. So we can monitor up to 48 different thermistors that we have.
So that's your in-house design for...
This is one that we sell here. So it's made by a company called Dilithium. We sell it under the Spectrum name. It's also known as a Thunderstruck BMS. It's absolutely fantastic. This is the whole entire system for 96 cells. And the programming, I think we spent... How long did it take us to program this? Maybe 10 minutes? If that.
It took me longer to download the plugin.
Right, it took us longer to download the serial program and find the actual cord. And once we plugged it in, it recognized all the batteries and made a map, and then we gave it a high and a low, and just activated it. It was really, really, really easy, about 15 minutes,
So the question, what do you need to program it for example?
Well, the high voltage and the low voltage.
Or the limit,
I mean, just
cut off one thing and stuff.
Yeah, but don't overcomplicate it. A high and a low. That's it. It's so easy. If you have the right equipment and it was installed properly, it should make your job much easier, much more efficient, and quicker.
Yeah, big question. Big question is like most, we have kind of like media always complain in Thailand. Electric car gonna be like, you plug in, charge in your house overnight, you caught in fire, and you never know, middle of the night, stuff like that. Or that's the one thing.
And so that same media company, if you notice, a lot of their commercials probably come from people who have an agenda against electric cars. So they might not have an agenda but the actual people that pay their bills.
Yeah.
But what I encourage everyone for everything is, be your own knowledge. Find your own answers to these problems, right?
Right.
If it was terrible, which it's not, but if it was, it wouldn't be growing so quickly.
Right.
And at the rate that it's growing, it makes some long-established industries very nervous, very uncomfortable with the rate that this technology grows. We have power that we never had before. We produce all our own energy on our roof, right? So now we're driving for free. Right. So as a company, all my employees, all the customer cars are charged on solar. So we're not handing money over to the big corporations anymore, and that's very threatening for them. So.
And the other question on when we do, okay, for example, like people like those guys, they want to just give some money to buy the whole kit. So you have all the components which are necessary to get them complete in one.
Right.
The problem over there is you need to order overseas.
Yeah.
When they come in, you have to clear the custom. They don't want to clear like next time. Oh, I'm missing one switch. I have to go back and clear the custom for the next one. Something like that, which is very hard for them to get a part.
I think eventually there'll be more parts distribution networks in Thailand, but right now, we have a fantastic international shipping department, and we deal with stuff like that. We've been able to ship lots of components to Thailand. The only thing that we've ever had any issue with at all was the batteries.
Yeah,
we'll plead to the government to take another look at this, take a look at what emission-free batteries are doing. As the playing field changes, as the situation changes, the laws need to change to reflect that. And when these laws were made, there wasn't an aftermarket for a very valuable battery. Okay. And what Thailand's doing by having these rules is they're sitting on the sideline, right? They're not in the game. They're being prevented from advancing their technologies and their own economies, right? Because this is not a battery that's going to be made anytime soon in Thailand. So I understand the protection isn't built in there, but at the same time, if you can have this battery able to import into Thailand, it's going to have an economic boom for all of the shops like EVWEST that are building cars like this, right? And there's certain components. There's a lot of other components that can be manufactured in Thailand very easily, right? And just kind of bring that along as like sister industries.
So for conversion stuff like this, I want to know the conversion facts in regulation in California, which is, do you guys need to have a kind of certification from government, to? So
California is the home of really what made this all happen, right? Yeah. Way back in the day, we had the California Air Resource Board, also known as CARB. Yeah. They're the ones that started these demands that if you're going to build these big trucks and big SUVs, you have to build something that offsets that. Yeah. So now, because of the origins of that, almost all of our regulations in California simply have to do with emissions.
Right.
So
that might be
easy. And they encourage it, right? They want cars like this that normally drip oil, drip gas. Terrible cars. I mean, you start them up. Every time you start them up, they just spit oil smoke out, right? They want those off the road, so they're encouraging what we do, so they make that mechanism really easy. And for the most part, all of the 50 states in the United States make that real easy. Some countries are pretty good. We have a really fast-growing market in the United Kingdom right now because they're very open to some of these things. Right. And there's some other European countries looking at adjusting stuff to make it a little bit easier because they have more and more of what's called a LEZ, a low emission zone, where they're regulating cars like this. So now they need to give people options. If you have a car, you can't just be told you can no longer drive that. There has to be an alternative option for them.
Is that for us in California? It's easy for DIY at home to just convert and go to BMW and get the new.
Yeah, I mean, if you pass the inspections, it's if you do it right and it's safe and it's legal, you'll have no problems. We've never had a problem in an inspection, right?
You don't need to have like engineering, mechanical engineer, engine engineer, or whatever they have.
Well, now you're asking capability questions, and I don't answer those, right? I mean, you know.
No, but I ask this question because in Thailand they require stuff like that. You know, we have not electric. I mean, for example, like we convert the car with LPG stuff.
Right.
And they need some kind of like, oh, that's engineer they can sign to make sure everything's safe.
Right.
And then you go to DMV, they say, okay, you guys are ready. They don't need to check anything, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have anything like that here in the States.
Yeah.
I think the mechanism's there, and I think that it encourages people. This is why we have a lot of entrepreneurship that comes out of the United States. A lot of new car companies, you know, car companies like Tesla, but now we have all of these other ones following in their footsteps, the Bollingers and Lucids and all these other companies that are following in those footsteps. And you know, it's great to be in a country, let alone a state, that encourages this stuff. You know, you can take an older car like this, swap out the drive line, and with a 10-minute inspection, be on your way.
Give them a second life.
Yeah, right.
So, just back for the technical detail a little bit. I'm kind of go way out.
Yeah, it's okay.
and what do you need? Like, oh, I know this one is a high performance.
Right.
Conversion.
Yeah, and this is away from what we typically do. You know, we're classic car guys, so we spend most of our time working on stuff like this. This right now.
It's all like a chair anyway. It's
right.
And you know.
Trent's. Do you have a model up on the screen there? So Trent's. If you look over here, Trent's modeling. We're having a bolt-in kit for the 911. So there's the kit that he's manufacturing right now, or designing in the computer. And what this will allow us to do is basically bolt in a Tesla driveline to the Porsche without altering the car. So at any time it can go back to a combustion engine. And what that does is it retains the value of the car, right? If we alter the car, we lose value in it, and we're not doing our job as engineers in electric driveline integrators.
I try to explain people in Thailand when they ask me, when you go to EVWEST, I say, because you guys are very expert to this kind of stuff. I mean, some of them.
Yeah, and let's be clear. Nobody's really an expert. I mean, this hasn't been around that long. We've been doing it since 2010, so we started a little earlier than some people, but it's kind of tough to call to say you're an expert, right?
Maybe not expert, maybe specialist.
The field is so new, we're learning every day, right? And I think that's the best advice is just go into this as a learning experience, and you'll have a good time with it. So we have a little test bench over here with motor programming and stuff like that. And this is our scanning station. We use this to, when we bring in like new transmissions and parts that we need, we'll actually use this tool and we can make a 3D scan of the part. Yeah, digitize it and bring it into the SolidWorks. So when we started this car, we put it up on the lift. Trent scanned all the factory motor mounts with this and then puts them in a 3D space, and then he can build his model in behind that.
Oh, that's a good tool.
So this is right here. This is actually our Tesla test bench.
Ah, this is interesting.
So one of the things you mentioned earlier about hacking the computers,
right.
One of the problems with that is, they keep updating their software, and they're a manufacturer. They don't have to send out information or anything like that. So it's this bit of cat and mouse game where they're changing their software, we're changing our software. So we need the ability to test motor systems. So we can bring in something like this.
This is more like a simulation you build
It's not a simulation. If you order a Tesla drivetrain from us, and we're going to ship it all the way to Thailand,
it's a test bench.
I can guarantee you that it will run right here. And we'll even take a picture of the serial number and do a short video of your motor running before it comes to you, because we want to give people that extra comfort, because stuff like this came out of a used car, so there's no guarantee what kind of history it's had, so we make sure that we test it. So it's up and running, it's in drive. If we give it gas now, we'll see the RPM shoot up there all the way up to 16,000 RPM, and then 150, 160 miles an hour all the way back down to zero.
So if for example, if I order one of this,
Uh-huh.
so this will come with the...
Everything you see here minus the board. So we actually sell it with...
come this,
yeah,
this,
uh-huh,
this?
yeah, the Tesla, this is a
okay.
Tesla throttle, accelerator pedal, the Tesla brake switch, and some other parts. But for the most part, you're seeing the whole system. The only thing below the table here is just two batteries, a 12-volt battery and a 400-volt battery.
Yeah, you have to auxiliary battery, and that's what I mean.
Right, right.
So,
Sorry, it's not the prettiest, but it's just a little 400-volt Tesla battery down there.
yeah, okay. So basically, it's Tesla model running on 400 volt.
It runs on 96S, and they have another version that runs on 84S.
Oh, 96S, okay.
Yeah, any of the lower voltage Teslas, like the 70s, 60s, and 70s, those all run 14 modules, so they have an 84S pack is what they're running.
So it's not that, they don't need to be like good expert engineer to install, maybe just a simple mechanic guy.
Yeah, again, we don't talk to capabilities because I don't want to encourage somebody that maybe doesn't have the skills, and at the same time, I don't want to discourage someone who is looking at this. But in today's world, you can talk to an expert in a matter of seconds.
Right.
With all the applications that we have video conferencing, we can send pictures. If an installation center runs into an issue, they can actually email their firmware to us, and we can look at their firmware and email it back. So we have a whole new tool set to kind of work and collaborate with people all over the world that we didn't have before. Now, how that affects individual shops and how much wherewithal they have, that's up to them. We don't really want to tell them what they can and can't do.
Okay, for this kit, you have a drivetrain going here, right?
Uh-huh. Yep, that's a standard differential.
Do they have to give you, hey, what kind of car I'm gonna convert to? Do you have something like coupling or stuff? Back in the old DC motor stuff like that, you have the...
Well, so this is a little different because you think, a DC motor is going into a drive line.
Yeah.
This is a differential.
Oh, differential.
Right?
Yeah.
So, again, you can look at the BMW, you just hook up your stub axles to this, right? And we're now offering different stub axles. So, like I have a set of Porsche stub axles for this, and we have a set of BMW stub axles. So it depends what you go. If you pardon me, I'll grab one. I can show you what I'm talking about. ตอนนี้พักนิดหนึ่ง
I have to speak Thai ตอนนี้เป็นชุดคิดของ Tesla so that what they sell it here very interesting
So this is a Porsche 930 stub axle that we had machined for us. This fits the Porsche half shaft, right? So this would go in here, and
that's interesting.
Yeah, line it up and get it in there. I'm not going to hammer it in right now with a mallet, but that's essentially it. And then you're going to have your Porsche
now
half
it's
shafts
easy
on
now
here,
for them
to
imagine how to
exactly. So we're starting to manufacture these in basically all the popular applications. So a couple cars we have a Fiat 500e going through the process of Gia. That's a company car. That's our Baja Bug over there. It's a fun little car, twin motor, about 150 kilowatt output.
So how about this one? Can you a little bit explain? So you need to build a battery box in front?
So we build all our boxes out of aircraft aluminum. So it's the aircraft aluminum box.
Is this a Volkswagen?
It's a Volkswagen Gia, 1969 Gia. You can walk around to the engine bay if you want. This is actually one of our technicians' cars. Again, everybody that works here, we're fans, right? Like this is the best of both worlds. We get to work.
A little bit.
Right. We get to work in a place that shares our personal passions. So a lot of times you'll find guys up here on weekends or working late on their own stuff.
I follow you for a long time, and I've seen like Jehu what you convert on the Volkswagen. The Volkswagen is more like, or Porsche is more like the best choice to people like to convert for in the beginning, or the best choice.
Sure.
And the body
And,
wise
and
is
again,
made
you know, we're getting into opinions here.
Yeah.
And when people start a business or they do what they do, they figure out what they want to work on. Maybe you want to work on motorcycles. Maybe you want to work on big trucks.
Right. Whatever they have in garage, they pick it up first.
We're a classic car company, right? Like if you want to specialize in converting Hondas or something like that, that might not be our interest, and we're not going to shift our interest just to try to cover business, right? We focus on this because we want to be the best at converting classic cars, and we want this to be our area of interest. We want to be the experts at doing this, right? And we're trying hard to establish ourselves. We're producing parts, you know, like again the Tesla thing and the stub axles. We're producing those parts so you can bolt this electric motor into a car that was built in the 60s. And so that's the goal, right? And if we're trying to do pickup trucks and vans and all these other things, it dilutes our focus, right? And there's so much business. I mean, you can tell just sitting here, my phone's ringing like 5 times, and this is going. There's so much stuff going on that we actually have to simplify it and focus and continually try to do our best. You know, instead of just trying to capture business. And you know, people, you know, we're kind of visible, and people are like, oh, you're just, you know, you're doing all this stuff. We're actually not. We're really trying to limit ourselves within, you know, these classics. And even, you know, we have an '84 DeLorean over there. That's a classic car. So, yeah, if you have a classic car and it's a small car, we have products for you.
Yeah, that's what I told those guys in Thailand. I said, your EVWEST is pretty much focused on the convert on a classic car, which is like some of them more like sentimental values or
Open this up so you can see the power wall over here. This is our power wall.
Oh yeah, that's what I saw you on the YouTube with the whole coming here.
So it's up and running. So if I plug this in over here. So this is up and running now. I'm just going to go ahead and plug in our Porsche bus.
Nobody understands this is an electric car.
Well, if you speak German, you know, Elektroauto. But now we're charging on Sunshine right now, coming from our power wall. So this is charging at a rate of like 5.5, 6 kilowatt, right? And, you know, typically we can't get that much energy consistently out of solar, especially in the early morning and in the late afternoon. So what we do is we have the power wall, and that stores that reserve energy, trickle charges into there, and then it can give us the high-speed charging that we're looking at.
Yeah, this is complete off the grid. Or you can
I mean, you can look at the inverter now. We're doing 5.4 kilowatt right now.
Right here?
Yeah.
And, oh, okay.
See, and then you can look at these stats up here. So our battery pack right now is at 60 volt, and we're pulling 72 amps out of the battery, right? But we're probably pulling 120 amps or so right now at 5 kilowatts. So, so we're pulling, you know, maybe 50 amps off of our roof, and maybe another 70 amps out of the battery right now.
Would you mind to open this one?
Sure.
Because I've seen you on YouTube. You put the.
So I'll open the small one for you first. This is just a safety box. It has our display here, but also fuses for the charger, fuses for the main battery, and fuses for the individual solar lines as well coming down. And then, let's see, do you have a key or a coin? I don't have anything in my pockets right now.
Toy? Hold on.
Quarter?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so go ahead and open this for you. It's highly secure. It takes the latest quarter to open it up. Pretty straightforward. We have 11 modules. Each one of these is 3 kilowatt hours, so we have 33 kilowatt hour. We have our DC bus running at 62 volts. It goes through a fuse and then a cutoff switch. A lot of people talk about the dangers of DC, and all electricity is dangerous, but at the same time, I can take my bare hand and go across my positive and my negative like that. And I just get a little, I can just barely feel it. It's just a little bit of a tickle. And so because it's not grounded and because it's not AC, it doesn't make it safe, but it is less dangerous than working with AC.
Right.
And so that's kind of nice because it's an isolated system.
You got a kill switch there.
Yeah, that's to turn off the pack power if we need to, and then we have a safety fuse over here. And they're on different leads, so by turning that off and removing the fuse, we completely isolate the pack. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you can see it's not complicated. This right here is everything that we need to be completely sustainable. Like our shop will never, ever, ever have to pay for gas for the shop vehicle or our employee vehicles or our customer vehicles ever again. So the cars that go out of here, they leave the shop with a full charge, and it's a full charge on sun. So
Really good idea.
yeah, we have.
What else?
That's about it for this building. We have another building we could go to down there that has a lot of the parts and pieces and stuff. It's not as interesting because it's not the cars getting built, but we have a whole another side to our business. As we're selling these parts and pieces, we have a whole part of ourselves that's dedicated to just bringing them in.
So most of the part that you design your stuff and fabricate or whatever you have, like machine shop outside or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So as we get busier and busier, we try to just focus on the engineering. We used to do more machine work here, but now we send that work to professionals, people that have been running machine shops for decades.
Economic upscale that might be cheaper in the long run. What interesting on the Back to the Future one.
Yeah.
Have you done anything on that yet, or just?
It's interesting. We designed a whole entire system for it, and in the time it took us to design the system, some newer parts had come out, so we redesigned it, integrating the newer parts, more powerful parts.
Yeah.
And then in the time that it took to redesign that, now we have full control of the Tesla systems, and we were starting a design on the DeLorean with the Tesla driveline.
Okay.
So,
since we are here, we can look into the Volkswagen.
Yeah, this is.
This one there.
This is a neat installation here. This is pretty clean. This is the brand new NetGain Hyper 9 motor. This one runs 120 volts, 750 amps, so it's about 88 kilowatt max. Fantastic motor.
Look like this is more people into. The funny thing is, we found one foreigner guy in Thailand, which is like from Cancun, California, married with a Thai girl. With this kind of Volkswagen, they bring your kid, because I saw the EVWEST sign on that one.
Yeah.
I'll send you a picture later on. But he
fantastic.
kind of like he sold it to the university and to develop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And
Yeah.
that was starting people I showed. Yeah, this is an EVWEST. They do this kind of kit.
Yeah.
There's
There's so much room to grow with this stuff. There's so many applications.
Yeah.
And everybody kind of has their own unique take on it, which is one of the best things about it, because that just encourages people to bring their ideas into it. You know what I mean? And partly the reason why we stay focused on classic cars. We're not trying to change who we are. This is who we are, and so there's another small element here. A couple of us are really into off-road stuff and riding motorcycles, so we've got like the electric dirt bike over there.
Yeah.
We've done electric off-road projects. We built the electric off-road race car that competed in the NORA, the Mexican 1000, and then later this year we're actually building a Baja 1000 vehicle.
our group is. Our group is more interesting to convert this kind of stuff because we don't have many people. They don't really have big money and the part. We are not like California or anywhere in the US, which is we can buy used stuff that easy.
Yeah.
In Thailand, we don't have used because they start from zero.
You're right. Right.
So we're trying to get something like YouTube educational, train about how to convert whatever motor they have.
Right.
Maybe the rewiring something like that to get it work. But
that's fantastic. That's the spirit.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you get it done, and that's essentially what people have been doing here.
Yeah.
In the States, we just have a little bit easier regulations for stuff like that.
For the tough question, like Chinese.
Yeah.
They came out for a lot of motor, for a lot of the kit, which is. I've been to China many times.
So, let's be honest, right? In the big picture, it doesn't really matter where the components come from.
Yeah.
Right? So as engineers, we have to always focus on qualitative measurements, or quantitative, excuse me, quantitative.
Yeah.
So we're looking at energy density, power density, how many watt hours per kilogram, things like that. So those are very finite numbers, right? And when you start looking at the newer stuff that the manufacturers are making, guys like Tesla and Hyundai, companies like that, they're making these incredibly high quality batteries, and we can buy them out of those applications at a fraction of the cost that we're buying brand new stuff, right? And even though the battery might be brand new and it wasn't used and it has a warranty, it on a level of quality might be much, much less than something that you can get used. And that's what we're finding to be the truth, And again, people call us for answers, right? There's no book that you open up. There's no internet page that has all the answers.
No.
If you want to know how a battery performs, build as many cars as you can with it. Drive those cars in all sorts of different conditions and use that knowledge. Use those experiences to help. Right. So it's when you make assumptions that it's dangerous. Like, I assume this battery's going to work well. No, don't assume that. Let's approach this from an engineering standpoint. Let's make sure that it can fit and it has the power. We're not exceeding the weight rating of the vehicle. We're not exceeding the temperature rating of the battery or the discharge rate. Things like that. So you really do have to know what you're doing and approach it from an engineering standpoint.
You're right. Engineers need to have black and white, not just a feeling.
Right. I mean, the feeling, we'll call it 10%. 10% qualitative, 90% quantitative. That'll work, But yeah, for the most part, the main importance is, what you find on a spec sheet, and it's a little confusing because the factory stuff doesn't come with a spec sheet. Tesla's not making a spec sheet for the used market for the batteries. So.
Well, I got approached by those guys all the time. They said, why do we need to convert electric? We can buy Tesla, same price. I said, yeah, but you can buy Tesla, but you don't. You just drive it.
Well, I mean, look at some people. When they want to lower their footprint, they go out and they buy a brand new Prius, right? And that makes the world go round, sure. Yeah. But what really makes the world interesting... Sorry. She's okay. Shut up. What really makes the world interesting is thinking outside of that box. Right? So we wouldn't ever want somebody to think this is an alternative to saving money on gas or anything like that. But if you're a car guy, in your heart and your soul, you're a car guy. I grew up a car guy. My dad was a car guy. It was in his blood. So, I'm doomed. I'm a car guy, right? You can do this and feel better about being a car guy, right? Because typically, being a car guy meant you have this habit that is at odds with our quality of life, right? I mean, you have this thing and you're like, I want to go drive it. But at the same time, there's, hard data that says the more you drive this, the more asthma you're going to cause people. Or the more, we can go into all the ill effects, right? But it's best just to say, instead of going into all the ill effects, what can we do to improve it? Let's look at that, right?
Even how good you're an engine guy, but still, end of the day, your engine will be gone.
I'm a horsepower guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm a horsepower guy, right? Like, let's be honest.
People like to have a feel.
If I had a car out here and it didn't have an internal combustion, let's say it had a jet turbine engine, you'd still want to drive it. It doesn't really matter what's powering the car, right? Whether it's a hamster wheel, an electric battery, or a jet engine, or whatever. At the end of the day, as a car guy, when you go to the racetrack or the drag strip, or even just out having fun in the street, it's really all about power, right? The leading line, when people talk about Tesla, you can't even talk about Tesla without it, the acceleration and the power and the speed and the 3 seconds 0 to 60. That comes up within the first minute of conversation. That's how important it is, right? So to be able to do that and apply that to these cars that we grew up driving and loving, it's just, it's an absolute joy. We're in heaven here, right?
A lot of good things for electric because acceleration is like fast and quick and compared to the engine, quiet.
Okay, we'll go next, and you want to show us?
That's about it. We, other than walking around the building, and like I said, it's interesting, maybe not as interesting for the viewers, but where we get the parts and pieces.
I give them plug before I came in there. They plug up.
Yeah.
I said, because over there it's about almost midnight.
Yeah.
And I told them, said, wait for Monday.
Well, thanks for staying up late. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
like,
Yeah.
And I have to translate in Thai later on for them because some
Uh-huh.
of them, we have kind of bottleneck on people understanding English that good,
Yeah.
I live in San Jose for 14 years.
Uh-huh.
So I'm an engineer.
Okay. Yeah.
A computer engineer, but with him, like working
Yeah.
there. And I'm retirement and go back to Thailand now. And
Yeah.
we set up a little bit small shop, machine shop, and do conversion like motorcycle, like you trip by whatever with the electric.
It
kind of fun
it always
toy.
starts small.
Yes, that's to get people interested. Oh, I can do that too. It's not that hard. And people and then you get a little bit step out until you get the call.
Yeah.
And the government still a little bit start to listen on what we conversion.
Yeah.
But they still doubt about the battery because the bottom line on Thailand is a battery because by law we have the government protection,
Right.
the local industrial. Which is
Yeah, and again, if you can show them that it's hurting business in one particular case, right? I understand they have reasons for limiting stuff and very valid reasons. But again, when those laws were written, this didn't exist.
Right.
And so anytime a technology becomes new or improves or changes that much, and I think it's fair to call this game changing, right? What do they call it? A disruptive technology, right? So since it's such a disruptive technology,
it's really disruptive.
right, it is their responsibility to readdress it.
Yeah.
So
that's what happened because the government kind of like they start to a little bit, but now they go the wrong way to go to hybrid, which is not really. They confuse.
Well, it's a step. It's a step in the right direction, right? I mean, barring all else, it's a good thing. Hybrid compared to electric is terrible. We all know that. I mean, you have this wonderful, fast, quiet, efficient electric car. Why would anybody put a gas motor in there?
Right.
We're getting there, though. People are figuring it out. And if that's the baby step that they need to take, then that's okay. That's
I just come up one question about battery.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about, the problem about what we have right now? The people always thinking because not compared to the gas, because the gas, when you run out, you can pump it right away, but the battery need to take time to charge. And you might know some of the new technology of the battery will charge faster.
We're charging faster and faster, right?
Okay.
But the reality is, once you have a charge station in your garage and at your work, it just
charges all the time anyway. Yeah.
Right, you're charged all the time anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, when's the last time you ran out of electricity in your cell phone? It doesn't happen that often anymore because you're always near a plug.
Right.
People will say the infrastructure's not there.
Yeah.
But the infrastructure is just electricity. You don't need a special cord. Sure, there's very fast, highly specialized, even proprietary charging systems out there. But ultimately, you're talking to someone who's daily driven an electric car for 3 years, right? I got rid of my gas truck. I've been daily driving. Every day, I drive an electric car.
Yeah, that's what people like to do.
I still charge my car at home on 110 volts. I don't even use 220, let alone DC fast charging, because another misconception is that you're charging your car full every day. You're really not. You're just replacing what you used. Okay. So a typical analogy would be if you woke up in the morning and your cell phone said 100%, you went through the whole day using it. At the end of the day, it said 70% charge left. Yeah. When you plug it in, you're just putting that that's all. And so the same is true for the electric cars. And because of that, just about every single car here is sitting full. So at any point we can go take off in this car and go 140 miles. This one will do 240 miles. The green truck out there will do 200 miles. So we have all these cars just kind of sitting here, and now we've saved ourselves the time of going to the gas station, filling them up, stuff like that. So it's just an adjustment, right? It's not a difficult one, but I'll use the line Jay Leno told me the other day, and it's from Mark Twain, and I think it's pretty profound. But people love progress; they just hate change. And so they want to see this stuff go forward,
true.
but they don't
That's
want to
very true.
disrupt their, I got my morning habit, I go to the
Yeah.
gas station and this and that.
Right, that's true.
It just takes a small adjustment, and on the other side of making that adjustment is something that people will find,
That's
much more
very
beneficial,
true.
more fun to drive, and rewarding. It's not that this is clean, it's just not dirty like the other stuff.
So another question for the business model. So you do here, like people come in with, I have my car, can you convert for me? Something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not our intent,
Yeah.
right? It's the teach a man to fish thing, right? If we just sit here and just convert cars and do nothing else, our output has a cap, right? But if we use our engineering and try to duplicate the solutions that we engineer, that cap is lifted. And so that's what we're doing. So a lot of people come here and they actually want to see the cars because they're exciting, but really the most exciting thing, the most rewarding thing that we do is actually the engineering. So it's kind of boring. It's a lot of CAD CAM and fitment and fabrication
Yeah.
and stuff like that, a lot of
Yeah,
prototyping.
yeah.
So, but that's really what we want to offer as a company is engineered solutions, and then on top of that, a staff of technicians that have encountered these obstacles and have engineered solutions for them that they can then explain and teach and sell to other people doing the same
Do
thing.
they have, you guys have like, for example, like the owner who get the car already complete, convert and take back home and say, hey, maybe you can increase a little bit horsepower, come back and,
Sure.
like
Absolutely.
everybody
Yeah.
car, I'm not satisfied, I want to change something, I want to add on
It makes the world go round.
right.
Yeah, I mean, we can do it. You take this motor out, put a twin motor in it. I mean, the sky's the limit,
Yeah.
I mean, really, with cars, even not just electric cars, even if it was gas cars, the only limitation is usually the budget of the owner of the car,
Right.
But again, we have a responsibility to do this right, and so we're always trying to focus people into responsible conversions, right?
Cool.
So,
the two parts, you have one, like a business come in, the guy came in with the idea to want to convert my old car, and the other, you sell the part, like the kit or individual part, whatever. And you guys have, like, for instance, those guys call, say, hey, I have a question. They don't have classic car in China, except Volkswagen left back in the war time. But
right, and again, I think it's less the car and more the components, right?
Right.
For example, there's people that have been working on Volkswagens for 40 years.
Yeah.
Why would we think that we know something they don't? That's silly, because we don't. But when it comes to programming the motor controller, or setting up the BMS for the first time, or integrating into a transmission, things like that, that's where we shine.
Yeah.
Right. And so we don't want to step into an area where that's been pre-established,
Okay,
right?
I get it.
We're
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
establishing new solutions
I get
where
it. Yeah.
other people, I mean, this Porsche here, this has already been out to, an air-cooled specialist to get an alignment done and suspension tuned and stuff like that. We don't do that stuff. Can we do it? Yeah, man, we're car guys. Of course we can do it.
Yeah.
But it serves no purpose. We'd rather have it to go to somebody who's really highly specialized in that, in the same way that this owner sent their car to us, because we're highly specialized in the EV
Right.
driveline.
Right. I get it.
Cool. Well,
Very good, man.
yeah.
Well,
I'll wrap up the visit for your viewers. I think that's
those people were
exciting
like,
stuff.
the other thing is like you consider to have, but you told me before, like in the future you might have some global office somewhere.
No, well, I mean, look, we're completely out of space right now.
Yeah.
We're completely packed in here. I've got a 5-year wait list. We've got like 30 or 40 cars waiting to come in. There's a building across the street that we're moving into later in the year to kind of grow our operation. But again, we're just, make no mistake, we're a really small, family-run business. And we're just trying to work like everybody else, and just hoping that some products that we make help, right? Either help them enjoy their cars more.
You say a lot
help
on
them clean it up.
YouTube, people, and follow like episode 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. We need more. Where's episode 6?
Yeah, but
Where's episode 6? Where's season 2?
I Well,
It's
it's
coming.
like all
We've
the
got
time.
stuff coming. We've got stuff coming. We've been filming.
Well, I need to give credit to Jehu because I'm the first I go to Jehu and look. Like we have problem with Barry, and then they're looking for the Exin 650, and Jehu is like, oh, that's like Eureka for us. We go grab. And for me, I go grab the Barry from the computer store. Back first beginning when I watched the video, nobody know how to use it. Well, I forgot for free. I mean, I put like Donnie's box in there, I put a drum in there, and that was the first start. People like, okay, oh now I can convert motorcycle. I don't need to use a gel cell battery like. Become like a battery carrier.
No, it's dangerous. Right, it's dangerous.
Now people start to grab all the X650 to do the battery pack. Get on even on the car like small van pickup.
I mean, you'll never recapture the time that it takes to make a pack. Right. So just buy one pre-assembled from Tesla or LG.
Well, we want that too, but
you're limited.
We have to deal with a lot of things.
Yeah, I understand that.
We look at your price and man, we should buy that like you said, the whole pack. We done with peace of mind. We can do something else. We should make it look better. Okay, then we should wrap up.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for coming by our shop. Thanks for having us for the little tour.
I translate in Thai later on with the subtitles. Okay, thank you very much, guy, and we'll see you back in Maker Fair next week.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay,
I'm sorry to disturb your business for.
It's fantastic. We love having you.
But I'm so glad to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
The other person I want to meet is Jehu, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's normally he comes down here every week, every other week, something like that. Yeah, he was just down here last week. We're filming a television show with Jay Leno, so we're gonna have a car on Jay.
He's movie star now.
Celebrity, isn't it? I know, right? Cool. Okay.
Very nice, man.
Hi guys.
How do I turn this off?
I should have a couple professional when they run the conference, but that guy like to play golf and they go golfing.
Right.
Very nice.
I don't know how to turn it off.
Oh, you don't know how to turn it off right here because